Hello everyone, welcome to Dmvii Live for November 25th, 2017. Keep in mind, stocks and strategies discussed here are for information only. Do not treat any information provided here as investment advice or recommendation. It is up to the individual investor to perform due diligence prior to investing in any company. And here are the symbols covered this week.
Poppin, it's a teaser, but he really feels this MEMS sector is like worth $19 trillion by 2020. So, and according to Josh, this Orbit Tech is like a real core to MEMS, what they do. Maybe Wei could explain it better than me, but that was his take on Orbitech. And then when I read this article, I guess maybe 8 months ago, maybe longer, I went online and just started looking at MEMS technology, and most of the companies I came up with were in Europe. I gave you some of them.
Here's an article on how to invest in the Internet of Things. So you took a look at some of the usual names here. This is from Zach's.com. These are names that you've are very familiar. Qualcomm appears there. This little kid is Skyworks, right? Skyworks. I googled ETF, MEMS ETFs, Internet of Things, MEMS growth stocks, and then we can take that. That's what IDD. And so tiny machines, blah blah blah. Did they mention any particular?
Well, there's STM. See it? That's one of them. I guess INVN is another one.
That's right.
But it might be safer or wiser to look at if we can find an ETF or a mutual fund that sort of is concentrating on this. So, if one of the other stocks bombs, at least you have others that are doing well.
I think the MEMS technology on its own, you won't be able to find an ETF. It will be companies that does advanced packaging, because essentially MEMS technology is mechanical little devices inside chips, right? So you always have to go together with some type of semiconductor devices or any manufacturing process. So I would think companies that does
Semiconductors.
that do semiconductors, or companies that do advanced packaging, that's where you might be able to find a lot of MEMS technology.
Well, is there that second term? I know about semiconductors, but that advanced technology, advanced packaging. Is there specific ETF or mutual fund in that?
I'm not too sure, but I know that's the overarching technology that basically uses it.
Here's a bunch list of semiconductor ETFs that may be tangentially related to the packaging. This usual SMH semiconductor, but it's a broader fund. These are all, when you Google MEMS ETF, semiconductors come up, obviously. This is a bunch of them. SMH is the biggest one of all.
And Tom, one side note, remember you were talking about Ring with somebody?
Yes.
Well,
I have a Ring.
Well, but there's a stock, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Because at work, I heard these people, they were going to go purchase Rings.
Yeah.
And I thought about you guys. I said, oh, yeah, I know about that.
Yeah. Well, my experience personally with it is it worked great for about 3 months. And then I think the battery gave out, or I had a power failure in my house, or I lost all the internet linking of everything. And
by the way, it's called Rings?
RING. That's one of those things where I got pictures of people who ring the doorbell or come near the house.
Yeah. All right, so is that it for you, John?
Yes, it is.
You're in the hunt. You're a new person, but you're next in line. So you want to say anything on what you invested last week or were thinking of doing, or whatever you might want to say? You're just here to learn, if that's.
I think that will make us rich by Friday.
No, this is the first time I'm here. I started with the investment club. So I'm trying to, I'm looking at some of the stocks that they are following. The most recent one is a Bank of Ozark. So that is one.
Do you know the
OZRK.
OZRK?
So
OZRK. Oh, Missouri? Around Missouri?
yeah. So recently the CEO quit. As a result, it came down a little bit, but still they have a good hope on this one. It's a growth stock.
Okay, so and that's a service. What was the service you were? How did you come upon?
In the Better Investing Club, the Better Investing Club in MIC, Northern Virginia Club.
There's another
Investment
meetup
club.
Oh, another meetup club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
I
an
mean, we
investment
might
club.
put that down. People want to check that
It's
out.
micnova.net.
MIC.
What?
MIC Nova NOVA
Okay.
.net.
VA.net, Virginia.
You got it. Nova. You got Nova.
Okay.
You got it, I think.
MSC Nova.
Nova.net.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So if anybody else wants to check it out and whatnot, see it's kind of. I mean, I put the stocks over here and then other stuff over here for. You know, it comes out in the conversation. Maybe you get the real thing with ways stream, but this is you don't get in on that. You can hook.
When do they meet?
They meet on third Thursdays.
Once a week.
Third
once a month.
Thursdays once a month. Next year onwards, they are changing it to second Wednesday.
All right. So is that it then for you?
That's it.
Yeah, what was this stock simple product?
No, this one was, they discussed about this three meetings before.
Okay.
And they were telling this is one of the good quality stock.
Okay.
And they are investing actually.
It's going back up.
Okay. So is that it for you?
That's it.
Next gentleman there.
Hi, my name's Greg.
Greg.
Based on recommendation from Weishu a few weeks ago, I went highly leveraged long on Shopify,
Oh, Shopify. Okay.
and that's done really well.
Okay.
I don't know if this would be the best point to get into it right now, since it has gone up quite a bit lately. But
Nobody knows, you know.
it's something to.
That was a speculative play, wasn't it?
I mean, it's
Well,
just
they-
everyone's opinion.
They
Whatever
seem,
it
they seem
is.
to have a good business model. They're not making any money yet, but they seem to have a decent income, and so it's something to keep an eye on. And I plan to stay in it for quite a while.
Are they for competition with Amazon kind of thing?
Well, I think they're a lot smaller, but you know, maybe they're geared toward giving small businesses, like really small, like one-man companies, a way to sell their goods easily.
So it's a lower end of the market. Amazon has to, I guess their product actually has to attract overall market, whereas these guys enables anybody to set up an online website to market their product. So they're almost like web development company in addition to, I guess, small e-commerce company. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could have a niche product and market it through a Shopify
Yeah.
site.
And then they'll set up a web page for you as well. So
And a company like Overstock, OSDK, how are they going to be? Because they're also got a discount. Now here's, well, wait, there's a story here. Shopify merchants experienced record-breaking sales 3 hours ago. This came out. Better buy some before Monday. Okay, so the news.
And another piece of good advice I got from this group was a Unity group, UNIT,
Oh yeah.
and that's still at a reasonable price now.
Telecom. Big fat dividend for Gary.
So that's still paying a very high dividend, and I got my first distribution on that a couple of weeks ago and was happy to receive a $900 dividend. So I'm long in the actual stock on this one.
What form of leverage is used to buy
No,
Shopify?
UNIT.
Oh, no.
I did that and.
in the money
the
column.
machine doesn't
February.
work.
Put another I on
Just
it.
leave a
Put
space.
another I. Put another I.
No, it's just UNIT.
Yeah, and then you'll find
There's a
it.
space after that, so.
No, you
No.
just put it there and then you find it on the search.
It doesn't come up
No, put the I. Unity with the I.
with an I.
An I
Yeah,
after
and
that.
then you see the third
Oh,
one.
okay.
Oh, with an I.
Yeah.
I thought it was Y, that's why. My bad at spelling.
What does Unity Group do?
They're a telecom infrastructure, fiber optic infrastructure company.
They have a relationship somehow?
Yeah, that's
Exactly,
around
you're gonna look at that.
14% yield on it.
14% yield.
So yeah, it's been going up and down between like 1450 and 1650.
Yeah.
What's the best return to capital?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that.
Say that again?
When a stock is going down and you're getting a huge dividend, you wonder where's that money coming from? It could be your own money coming back to you, okay? You put in $100, let's say, and they give you $10 back all the time. At the same time, the price of the stock is going down. You gotta watch out for that.
Yeah, so
Right.
the reason why it went down is because Unity gets about 75 to 85%, I don't remember, of their revenue from Windstream. And the Windstream, the company right now is insolvent. So there's a concern there of whether or not the Windstream will be able to honor their, Windstream. So there's a concern there whether or not they will be able to honor their lease. And then that's why Unity had to essentially trade sympathy, just like the other value investor said, with Windstream. And then even if the Windstream does go down, basically the underlying businesses that uses the infrastructure will still have to redraft essentially the lease. So I think Unity will actually have a few quarters of maybe down lower revenue, but then they still have the service, which underlying business hasn't changed. It's just the client, which is Windstream right now. It's insolvent.
It's a big ramp up in the last 3 months here. You can see a ramp up in price on Windstream.
Yeah, because the concern there was they were going to go bankrupt, right? If they go bankrupt, then Windstream will basically have to, Unity will have to redraft their lease. So that's the concern there. That's the reason why it dropped. But the underlying business service is still there. Infrastructure is still there.
And then one stock I'd like to get people's opinion on is GoPro,
Yeah.
GPRO. I think the company's at a point where it's either going to begin to do well again, or maybe go the other way.
I think
So
the
it's
chart
had
is
a lot of
I think the
volatility.
chart is telling you which way it's gonna go.
You think it's going to keep going down?
Aren't they in competition like with Apple somewhat?
They're in competition with dozens of people. I love their product. I use it in the plane all the time, but their stock is just a nightmare.
There's a lot of knockoffs, right? The Chinese are making it's a commodity, right? It's a commodity.
Right.
Everybody can knock it off, and they don't have a particular moat as such. I mean, you can see the slope down from a high of
Do you think
$85 at one time.
Do you think somebody would take them over because you love their product? Do you think somebody would step in and say this is a great product?
To buy a
Yeah,
company has to make
probably
money.
not.
The point of buying companies is to make yourself money, not to say, well, they had a good product in 2010.
They had a pact with the NHL, didn't it, to put the GoPros on hockey players and get some kind of audience that way. But I guess it didn't help as much.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, well, Dan, you're next. All right, well, Vince, you're next up.
Nothing.
Nothing? Oh,
You guys started doing your
well,
homework.
all right,
already.
Don, we can get moving fast here. So, okay, Don?
To John's comment, I invested in SOXX about a year ago.
Yeah, that came up as the ETF for semiconductors, right? Oh yeah, that's a nice play there, Mr. Brown.
You know, it's a very small yield.
Isaac
so
High
it's
Tech and,
pretty skimpy.
They don't just reinvest in their business. They don't give out dividends.
So what was your thinking on it?
Semiconductors.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Oh, all right. Well, no, Tom, you're next now.
Interesting. I
I
have
have
to-
before you, SMH is a more liquid version of that. SMH, if you want to get more. Okay.
follow up on someone's comment about Ring. I've heard an interview with the chief financial officer or one of the executives of the company at Ring, and they have all these ideas of what they're planning to do, which is come out with all new products, and they get a lot of information, which again is consumer data information, because they are expanding with security systems in the homes and a whole bunch of other outputs. That is in contrast to my bad luck with the product. So maybe it will be my mistake because of the problem with it.
Well, here says that a buy rating from some analysts and then beats on quarterly results. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of
it's
momentum
growing.
behind it.
It seems to be catching on because people are getting very interested in these monitoring systems.
Tom, do they have any competitors you know of?
I didn't see any, but I looked at this over a year ago.
I was at Best Buy's the other night, and I was talking to somebody about this because they were selling these products, and he said, yeah, it's competitive. So I didn't go into detail.
Yeah, there might be a couple out there because this is sort of starting a homeowner's interest in security systems.
Because I know Google's getting involved in homes. I don't know if they're getting in this particular area too. Or
If Google was doing the Internet of the Home, then this would be one of the products. Yeah. The other thing I was a little sorry to see is my Mission Square got called.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's
I'm
what I was
no
hedging
longer
your
than a
position.
shareholder. And it just sort of popped up after I got it out. Anyways, it
Yeah, it's
wasn't.
been a,
Yeah,
It's
I'll
a-
just say it was an interesting ride, but now I'm out.
looks like an events chart there.
would you
Yeah,
like to get back in?
I was thinking of it, but I'm gonna wait a little bit. If anything, I would sell a put on it.
At what strike did you get the call away? At what strike did you get called away?
I think it was right around that area, a little less.
You had a little bit of
Oh, like a
gap in
fire.
there.
47.50 or something.
Yeah,
like
no
that.
yield there.
Yeah, you have to pull up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to pull up the option chain. Don't ring the bells.
Tom, as an IT type guy, what do you think of them? What is your thoughts on the company?
I looked into it when I invested in it at first, and I was very intrigued with what they're doing. Not only, everybody knows that they have the little slot on top of your phone where the small businesses can register a transaction. They are getting involved in things which are now for a small business where you can put it on the cashier counter and take in this. They are getting into, how do I say, big data, in the sense that they're getting a lot of sense of who the people are, what the industries are, where the incomes and outcomes are. And they are also getting into, what was the other thing that they were doing?
Bitcoin?
What was it?
The cryptocurrencies?
Crypto-
Yes.
Blockchain.
Yeah, that,
They're getting a blockchain.
they talked about implementing Bitcoin in there. And there's a couple of things that are going more and more with Bitcoin, because I saw some European company that is now accepting Bitcoins as a point of sale.
Yeah, the Bitcoin is hot, that's for
Well,
sure.
you
No
know,
one was right on.
Just not to go too far into Bitcoin stuff, but you might want to look at ETH. That's that Ethereum. It's the Ethereum. And I mentioned it back in June that I saw on Bloomberg West. These folks that are with or were with Coin.
There's no particular
No, it's not a ticker. It's
No,
it's you got to spell it out. But that's if you go on the site of market cap of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
That's how you see it. But the guy was with Coinbase. He was their security guy, and there was another fellow that is really high on this blockchain. But this Ethereum, they liked it very much because it's organic. And Mike, who's not here, but somewhat as an IT guy, we've talked about it. He just says it's more friendly user or accessible to more use than Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is like maybe a commodity of like a gold. This could be more used.
Like a dollar bill?
Well, no, it just can do more. It can transfer resources. Again, the term they use is organic. And it really popped. And it's been sitting somewhat low around mid 200s, and it's up to mid 400s. So I'm not telling you to go run out, but if you're going to get into this area, I think that Bitcoin is rather expensive, and this is rather reasonable now. And if those fellas are right about it, that it's more usable in the software and programming, that could have a big future if you're going to go into that issue. So.
In any case, is that it for you, Tom?
No, I got something for either very young people or for very old people like me.
You look young, Tom.
Yeah. Anyways, I've made a list of stock reinvestment for the dividends. And there's a series of growth stocks out there which do have 5% discount, plus or minus. Some may be 4, some may be a little different. And most of these are growth blue chip stocks. So I'd either pass this around, or for Ray, I could tell you the names and you could put it in the system.
I will want to offer an observation about the drips for these, dividends. The new, I think Way has put out a fairly nice stream about the FIFO impact. It's not quite accurate, but it's a good start for somebody who's unfamiliar with it. But FIFO is going to kind of compromise that dripping issue. I assume that's probably going to go through if they get the tax plan passed. I mean, they're going to want to get some money somewhere, and that gets some credit. So they'll probably will. I think that if the tax plan goes through, I think FIFO is going to get in there, and that's going to compromise your dividend plan, because it will mandate you would not be able to identify the shares that you want to sell. They will be mandatory. It will be the first one that you buy will be a taxable income. And as Way points out, the first one is likely to be your very lowest cost one, so that will have the maximum tax effect. So likely they have the maximum tax effect if you do the dripping.
Not to get too wrapped up in the FIFO thing, there was some discussion in one of the business channels that this has very little chance of passing forward. Apparently it was concocted by some staffer to save $2 billion out of a $1.3 trillion deficit. So there's so much feeling against it.
Well, this definitely will hurt the investors.
So it's a lobbying effort against this. So there's very little chance that it will go through. But
I will clarify that there has been successful lobbying on that from the mutual fund group. They have executives over there who are very tuned in on that. Unfortunately, the individual investors don't have the lobbying services, and that is a way for the government to get more income for their spending.
Sure.
So
they said $2 billion, which is an infinitesimal amount.
$2 billion, right? That sounds like a lot to me.
Well, I guess the 1.3 trillion.
You got to start somewhere.
I understand.
If you take that $2 billion out, then you got to get it from somebody else.
I understand, but it's not significant enough to really garner because there's so much feeling against it.
Well, is that the mutual fund guys are against it. The individual investors don't have much clout.
You mean the mutual funds are for it?
No, I don't think it's
Mutual
affecting
funds?
the mutual funds. It's exclusive for
They
individual
have said
investors.
they will exclude mutual funds. So,
Right. So they're not lobbying one way or the other way.
no, mutual funds lobbied to make sure they were not included.
Right.
That's where they're.
Sure.
And once they're out of it, then Congress being Congress and all that, well, who's passing the cash their way? Nobody. No one's doing that, so.
Well, I think of things in terms of LIFO, which is last in, first out, FIFO, first in, first out, tax lot selection, or average.
That's what you can do now. You can
Yeah.
do all those, any of those.
So when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, it does get a little more complicated.
Right.
And there are people who do tax harvesting
Right.
with its different ways.
I mean, that
of doing
saves a lot of on the tax bill.
And the other way you do it is you set your account to be mark to market. In other words, you have your January 1st assets of so many dollars, and then on December 31st, you have your December 31st total assets in dollars, and you only deal with the difference between them. That's for traders who want to get in and out of the market fast. Yeah.
Tom, I don't believe that's correct, but might discuss that further if we had more
Yeah.
time. But
Well, this is what Bo was.
Bo does.
Yeah.
I will know what Bo was talking about is not. What you have to do
market.
is you have to get yourself qualified as a trader. You have to file the paperwork.
Well, I did that.
So you've done it. So
Yeah.
so you're all set.
Well, you can do it, and you just have to file for that authorization in your IRS, and they have a form.
Well, not in the IRA, and that didn't matter in the IRA.
No, IRS.
No, but once you do that, there's no way back. I mean, you're in.
Well, you
that's-
set up a special account just for that.
Well, I mean, you're rigged up. Well, maybe you know a little bit more that you can get some special treatment by getting approval by the IRS.
Okay, well, whatever, that's probably outside the course here.
Okay. Was that it? By the way, is that it for you, Tom?
Yes, on these dividend reinvestments, I'm not sure whether your brokers will give you that 5% or not, or you have to put it in CompuShare to get the 5%. So you have to look into that.
You'll be passing that list out, right, this drawing email?
Yep,
So
yep.
so we'll write that.
I took a picture of it.
I work in an
One
office,
thing
yeah.
about your dividend reinvestment that I see on Intel there, and I've been in it since it paid a 2-cent dividend, and now it's up to $1.09. So I'm just saying, if you stick with them.
Yeah.
And our friend in Richmond, God bless his soul, I don't know if he's still alive, but
Yeah, I was just
got,
thinking of him. Wasn't he the one who?
he's got me into
The
them.
dripper. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Back in
You
the
did that,
90s.
he did that for years and
Yeah.
years and years, and accumulated quite a bit of.
Yeah, that certainly works in the past for sure. So Tom, is that it for you then?
I'm doing dividend reinvestment with CLM and CRO.
Right. Now there are different. That's more. I know a lot of people can't handle
Yeah.
that kind of setup.
Right.
Yes.
Do you want to put them on the board?
No, don't.
Don't even put them on the board?
Well, that gets a little hairy, as
You,
he knows.
let's put it this way: you need to know what you're doing with them. As Vince will point out, he hates the chart because they're always down, 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 down. What you're getting. It's hard to account for the huge payouts you're getting. Like mega payouts, but the result is it's down, 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 down.
And this is what I think you were referring to on some of these stocks with high dividends, because it's return of capital computations.
I mean, it's.
What were the two symbols, COM?
CLM
Yeah.
and CR, was it CRL?
CLM and CRF, that's the cornerstones.
Yeah.
And, the guy who was a Reagan, he was the Attorney General for Ronald Reagan. It's, sort of a big, he was able to work some sway so that the
18%
Congress,
dividend.
let them have a special deal if they qualify.
18% dividend, but as you say, you started at $30 and you end up with $15.
Well,
It's down, 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 down.
but the thing you have to consider is their payment is monthly. So if you throw in compounded interest with dividend reinvestment, you get a little bit more. and you have to take advantage of the rights offerings.
Have you calculated what your total return that would be annually, like 5%
No, I'm
maybe?
not into that anymore. If I was a little younger, I would.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah, that's the real measure, right?
the total return has been very fantastic.
Well, Gary, what did you find out when you did that calculation?
I think they're running around 30% a year or something they're getting, and everything gets compounded in and all that.
Yeah.
But it's been a hot streak for them. I wouldn't count on that going forward.
And it's-
Especially if interest rates go up.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing, just to make it more interesting. I read an editorial, and I can't verify the numbers on this, but they were talking about how our government is putting us in spending mode without considering the future consequences. And it was something like the budget is what, $4 trillion, something crazy, and of that $4 trillion, something like 850 billion is in servicing our national debt. Now, I'm not sure about the exact numbers on this, but it is a trend where I've used to deal with international countries, the IDB, and I've seen issues where these countries have a debt service ratio problem.
That's
And,
within low interest rates too.
and this is where low interest rates. So take our national debt, which you know what it is, and multiply it by 1%. What do you think our service on that's going to be?
Yeah, so there's two things to say about that, right? That the dollar is a dependable currency and people flock to it. So these other countries are at a disadvantage. So other countries prop up by buying our treasuries. The second thing to say is that's why President Trump chose a fellow who is just as dovish as Yellen about interest rates, keep those down to minimize the impact of the interest on the debt. Having said that, back to the five for $2 billion. What's that in a 1.2 trillion?
Yeah, and also keep in
We're not
mind,
doing much.
Yeah, and keep in mind the two ways the government generate money is through taxation and also inflation, right? Because if you inflate, if the fixed income is for bonds is like 3%, right, or 2 point something right now for 30 years, 10 years. If the inflation is that, then essentially the government doesn't have to pay any money because the inflation is keeping up with whatever the fixed income that you're getting. So I basically foreseeing that we're gonna have a lot of inflation coming up in the next few years just to reduce this
That's an
budget
interesting
deficit in addition to
that's an interesting
taxation.
fundamental discussion about what is, because Yellen recently said a couple of days ago to you that she says that might be other forces at play that are keeping inflation down that we have not experienced in the past. Obviously, the technology is making things cheaper, and petroleum, obviously, oil products are keeping their prices down, which in the past have caused everything to go up. Plastics, everything seems to be made of petroleum, and when petroleum goes up, everything else goes up. But those prices have been, just for inflation, all of it is way down. So there are other things that she doesn't even necessarily understand about inflation. They are not traditional.
Well, speaking about oil, the agreement on oil with Arabia is it's always with dollars.
Right.
So if they use another currency, it will, or open it up to two different, like the euro or some other currency, it's going to change that whole equation.
The Russians, Chinese, and that they're all about getting away from the dollar, but they're not being successful.
So anyways, I brought that up to bring in one issue for people in general, and then I'll shut up. What he's saying is about the interest rates going back up. If they ever open up this gate with what's building up pressure, don't own any bond mutual funds. And the reason being, mutual funds do not have an expiration date. They will go on and on, whereas if you buy individual bonds, they all have maturity dates. So no matter what happens,
As long as they can make good on them.
So when you say mutual funds, you also include ETFs in that conversation? Or ETFs or?
I'm just saying mutual funds because ETFs may have different criteria for liquidating and moving around. But when you buy mutual fund bonds, bond mutual funds,
Especially the longer term duration.
there is no maturity date. Okay, that's it.
I have
Yeah.
maybe offline, Tom, because my understanding, because I own some, is that you're buying and they buy individual bonds. The maturity dates are on a continuum, so that
That's right.
Monday someone will mature, it'll go back into the queue at that
And they'll
interest rate.
reinvest it in another one.
Yeah, and so you're effectively buying individual bonds in that on that continuum.
But they reinvest it, you never get the money back until you sell. And then when they reinvest it, at what percentage rate are they reinvesting it at?
Well, it's the current rate.
Which could be higher, which
Yes.
means the bonds are lower.
Correct.
And they get more money, more
So-
payout coming up. I mean, they get higher rates, that's great for them, because then they can pay out more. See, that's the weirdness of it.
So what's that mean for companies that have taken out a lot of debt at low interest rates? Is that gonna bump their stocks up later on?
Yes. They got cheap money.
Okay, is that it for you, Tom?
Yep.
All right, is it?
Dwight,
Right.
I was reading an article yesterday about, looks like Coca-Cola, KO is on an uptrend. I
Yeah.
was wondering what people thought about that.
All right.
Yeah, it's,
Consumption level is down.
Okay, now that has a yield of about 3%, so, it's better than the bank. Right.
yeah, an opportunity here, trend there.
I consider it a commodity stock, and it's currently overvalued. So I'm not touching it.
Why do you think it's a commodity stock?
Just because if you just look at the historical time, right, it doesn't matter if we're going through recession or not, people tend to consume Coca-Cola. And if you look at their revenue stream, it's pretty steady. And therefore I treat it kind of like, you kind of like need it, kind of like toilet paper. So its growth, it's pretty much linear in the sense that you can project it. You can easily project it. And therefore the valuation, like look at that, like what trailing PE is like 43.65 for commodity. That's crazy. So yes, I'm staying away from some of those like blue chips. I know they're stable. They're likely going to continue to generate money, but you're not getting the bang for your buck.
It's a dividend play if you want to sit down and collect 2.2%.
All right. So is that it for you, Dwight?
That's it.
Kate, you're next.
Okay, I didn't do any trading this past week. One of the stocks that I had gotten before really did some business. Ms. Mark, M-A-R-K,
Right.
Remark Holdings. It's a Chinese artificial intelligence, M-A-R-K.
M-A-R-K.
ARK, okay.
M-A-R-K, I typed it in, but I think it's okay.
So,
Let's go to finance. So, this is M-A-R-K. Oops, sorry. Right. It's on Holdings, is that it?
Remarks?
Remark Holdings, okay.
How did you find that?
So I have a friend who's day trading, and he mentioned it as one of the artificial intelligence currently companies.
Wow.
They're based out of China.
Yeah, it's certainly been hot of late, yeah.
This is the same friend I gave you that other night that doubled in 1 week. I didn't get the name of your friend.
Okay.
Can we be friends too?
It's about the third one she's come up like that. Unbelievable.
So are you long term or is this a day trade thing?
I'm more long term. Unfortunately, I have such a small holding or such a small position that made a little bit of difference, but not much. But it was, it's an interesting thing that somebody might want to look into. I mean, because it went up consistently. It went up like 20% in a day, and then like 15% the next day, and then like it consistently for like a week. Went up and up and up. So
It went from $8 to down to about $2 and some, and then all the way up. Wow.
But we don't know why, right? You know why it popped?
Any news on it or anything, or?
We are.
Yeah, because I never heard of the outfit, so I don't know anything about it.
What's their market cap?
Seems tight.
But, is that it for you then, Kate?
it is for me.
Yeah, that was a quarterly report, but that was very good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was quarterly report that came in very good, that's one.
So is that it for you, Kate?
It is, yes.
Okay. I guess we'll go to you, Hector, there, you're.
Oh, thanks. Just a couple of usual names. Boring GM. There is some good vibrations coming out of GM. Yeah, this is your traditional grandma stock for dividend. Very nice dividend there. But they are very big now, as you might have heard, on the electric vehicle finally and autonomous driving. They are supposed to have some kind of conference coming out late November and symposium talking about their plans moving forward. And here's an article: undervalued and moving in the right direction for GM. It's the guy who's selling his product on how to, and it's an attractive valuation, blah blah blah. Price to earnings is 9.5. Price to book. Healthy business momentum. We talk about cyclicality of autos that people have maxed on their purchases for now, but this is beyond that. This is companies getting into the Internet of Things, perhaps, and going up against Tesla. So, and it's not that attractive place to put it. So we also.
Yeah, 3% yield.
Yeah. It's one thing to talk about. John recommended this stock to me not too long ago. Yeah, might have not heard of it. Oh, I've been batting this around, right? But here,
okay.
yeah. So this news here was about again the competition in telecom space.
Now it's a little richer dividend, 5.6%.
Right. But there was this is worth mentioning today because there was some noise about the internet neutrality. And that the less regulation Trump administration would treat this not as a utility, allows Verizon, AT&T, and the rest to charge more for more traffic. And there was a little bump on that. Let me see, this is a 1 month chart. You can see a little bit of a bump there. So also there's a little bit, as going into the new year, there might be a little bit more caution. And AT&T is regarded as a safety stock, right? And so people flock to safety. Some analysts talk about a $38 to $40 target on this. Not that much more, but you're collecting nicely. And the Time Warner subplot on that is that they have a pretty good chance of winning, that the judge that's assigned to that case now is the one that approved the Comcast NBC merger. These are different times though, and probably decided in April, who knows. But for now, people feel that the dividend is quite safe. It will be continue to be safe. And so those are tailwinds, so to speak, for that. We've also talked about AMAN, of course. I heard the CEO talking with Jim Cramer last couple of weeks ago how they are into everything. They manufacture equipment that is used to produce things like flat panel televisions and the rest
So
of
it's
it.
just a very small bit.
I wish I had told you about this. Now, we've talked about this many times. I discussed this earlier on, but as you can see, it's just nothing but they're not really a semiconductor company. They are the builders of equipment that are used for building semiconductors, right? And other appliances. So they're underneath the thing that's about.
Can you compare the two, AMAT with ARBK?
AR, yeah.
ORBK?
Yeah.
Orbotech?
ORBK.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's although it's slightly different realms, right? That's what I will tell you. Red is ORBK, which jumped recently, making lots of profits for way over there. I wasn't as smart. You have to get on it. But what is it now? 57. If you look at a longer term, you see that AMAT is there and RBK is almost catching up on a 1 year, year to date, or 1 year chart.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it for you, Hector?
That's it, thanks.
All right, James, you're next.
I just have one stock that I followed. It would be purely speculative, but I went to IT conference not too long ago, a really large one, pretty prestigious one, and this one vendor that I never heard of had display, and it had a technology behind it that you start hearing more and more. The ticker is NTNX. So the buzzword behind them is containers. So basically, a programmer can program without having to worry about any of the hardware behind it. And it's had a bump recently. I think they report earnings on Monday. The market cap, I think, is only around $5 billion. So I think this is a company that could easily double in the next year as far as market cap. All the big boy, a lot of the major players, like big companies, are using their services. So just throwing it out there, I'm just looking.
How do they do that?
They have I don't know exactly how they do it, but maybe someone here knows more. You can go ahead and talk about it. I know a little bit about it, but
Yeah, container technology is almost similar to virtual machines, and they allows you to deploy like small section of the server, and then you can utilize it as you would just like a virtual machine to do your development and all that. But then all of that is essentially cloud technology at that point. But it's like the next level of virtualization.
So does it have its own programming language?
Not exactly sure, but
Well, that get involved with what would be, I mean, Java versus C or something like that.
I would think that you will have to use all of the current existing programming language to build it, but I'm not exactly sure. But I'm sure they're essentially just built for you, like an installation for you to already have the environment in place. So you just have to work on whatever project you need to work on. So you don't even need to worry about the underlying.
so you don't have to worry about spinning up servers or making databases. The programmers can just go in there and program. And I believe you can move it between clouds, right? Like you can move this container between clouds. So a lot of the really large companies with big databases, a lot of programming, they're using this type of technology.
Who are their competitors, guys?
Microsoft's one. They just started. I know they just bought a very small company that does the same thing. But I was just very surprised when you start hearing new buzzwords when you go to conferences. This was one of the new ones, containers.
Right.
Say AI and bots.
What's the buzzword people can Google it?
Container.
But
Container.
there
Okay, so
are,
people want-
for more context,
40 feet long.
would be virtual containers.
Yeah, I just heard about that like 2 weeks ago. So it was an interesting thing
Is
that
there like
you
a
brought up.
standard that they use? Or
They have
created?
I have to look and see what programming language they are, but the programmers like it because they don't have to ask anybody else for any assistance. They can just start programming. So they don't have to go to the server guys, the hardware guys. It's just like he's saying, it's not a virtual server. It's more like a virtual development platform.
Are there any security considerations?
I'm sure there are, but I mean, they usually will work like in Amazon's cloud, or they'll work in Microsoft's cloud. They don't own the cloud. They own the platform that lets developers develop.
You could think of it similar to a traditional virtual machine, that you have the operating system in place already, and then you install some program, and then whatever program you use there, you just play with that program. You don't care about whatever operating system it's running on. It could be Mac OS, Windows, Linux, whatever, right? So that container essentially is just like this environment that you can write program on. You don't have to worry about what programs, code is written.
Gotta have an interface somewhere.
Yeah, the interface will be whatever the operating system is. So I'm not sure what operating system the container is going to run. I guess you can customize it whichever you want. So it can be any type of operating system.
Now this is speculative. Now I'm just saying that their name is now getting big enough. I'm just gonna watch it. I think they report earnings the 30th. I'm just curious to see what happens.
Okay, so is that it then for you, James? The lady over there. Okay, and the gentleman in the white hat?
Pass also.
Okay, so they're now by the clock.
Yes, sir, I wanna know about that, Stitch Fix that came out. And, I think it's S Fix.
What was that?
Did I talk?
I don't know what it is, but it came out on,
I think he was referring to the Stitch.
Oh, the
Fix.
Stitch, Stitch that fixed the IPO. Yeah, that's good. So what's that symbol?
Is that what it is?
S Fix. I don't think that's it.
S Fix.
No, it's S Fix. S Fix.
They send you outfits and like
Oh,
based
there
on
you
your taste,
There
and
you
then
go.
Yeah, SFIX. Okay.
Wow.
keep what you want and send it back if you don't.
What did you check it out? Because I know you like IPOs. That's
I
why.
like IPOs. That you mentioned it last week, and I did not. It wasn't on my radar, and it wasn't something that I
Checked out.
participated in.
Is it going
Gap, you're a couple gaps, huh? It's only now just a few days.
That's events chart.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's picked up steam, and the IPO wasn't all that successful, but it has seemed to pick up
So
all
that's,
steam.
yeah, that's right, it just came out.
All right, so is that it for you then?
I have one more on the HIMX.
Right, I saw that was discussed, semiconductor, I believe,
Is it
from
technology?
Taiwan, this is a Taiwanese company, I believe. Just had a pop here.
HIMX. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a Taiwanese company, and it's it's a semiconductor, I believe. Yeah, John and Jerry, the options guys, sees unusual
that's
options
what I
activity. A lot of people buying options, hoping for a pop. Speculative play here. They are into.
Yeah, now it has a little bit of a yield even too, 1.8. So I mean that's always nice to have a little something there working for you.
Yeah.
So is that it for you?
It's
All right, now we're back to you. Your wife's sister. You want to say anything now, or still quiet? All right. Now it's in your call.
All right, so I want to share with you guys my website that I finally finished building.
All right.
So Hector, W.
Let's go do it.
Browser. Yep. WEI SHUO HUO
SHUO.
Yep. And then HUANG.com.
I guess it's
So you can just go to the investment performance tab. Not philosophy, performance. Yep. So that's. I'm just gonna scroll down to my winners.
Wow, look at that.
I basically have my
36 winners. Well, that sounds great.
But you scroll down for the losers. Yeah, the losers
Where's
are below.
Orbotech? I don't see Orbotech.
Orbotech, if you hover to the green pie, the big largest piece of, yeah, that's Orbotech.
Oh, wow.
So out of all the 120 something percent gain this year so far, like Orbotech contribute to 26.5% of it. So I basically plan to just leave this out there from now on. Whenever, like maybe do like once a month update. And just to keep you guys updated this way as well, as like verbally spewing it, because chances are people won't remember what I say anyways. And yeah, so those are my losers. Yeah, so
That's
for
something to say that you won with AT&T. That's wonderful.
yeah, but it's a very small portion of it somewhere.
Where you're trading options principle, right?
Yes, I have both options and stocks.
So
Everything.
can you talk about
Those gains reflect the options, I guess.
It's got
Everything,
There's no way to get
everything,
100%
yeah.
of these
Includes stocks and options, yeah. But the way I'm doing it is essentially the beginning, like what Tom was doing, is that you have the beginning of the year, how much money I put in, and then the right now to this point, and that's how much total percentage gain of my whole portfolio, and then I attribute each company how much they contribute to that gain in the loss and gain transaction sheet, whatever the merger provides. So yeah, Orbotech is my biggest gain this year, and then followed by, I believe it's Nvidia, it's my second, and then AMD is my third, and yeah. So right now in Qualcomm. Of
And
course.
again, the technique for us home gamers is that you start out with selling a put at the money, pretty much.
Yeah, I do in the money puts because I want to get the shares.
Which takes a lot of courage to do.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, if
Well,
Overtake is
yeah.
at 50, you sell put at 50, goes below that, you buy. And then you purchase calls.
Yep. So the reason why I do that is because I understand the underlying business, and I actually consult with a bunch of people. I talk to, Josh, talk to of course, John and Gobi and a bunch of other people.
So
So-
the way that
So you have confidence. You don't
call-
care if it goes
right.
down, you own it.
So that call that you purchase is one with less premium on it because you don't want to purchase a lot of premium. But so you go way out, several months out. Like today is November.
I go usually as long as the option's available, like 200 days out.
Oh, you will.
Yeah.
The furthest target out there because the premium is the cheapest.
Exactly. So I sell on the short term and buy on the long term.
What percentage of your portfolio do you allocate to each position? More, less than 5%?
At any given moment, I keep about 50% of my money in cash.
I'm sorry.
At any given moment, I keep about 50% in cash
50%
for opportunities, and then the other 50% I can allocate maybe like 10% per position, because at any given time I have less than 12 positions at any given time.
Right, so that
Yeah.
really is more like 4 or 5% of each. If you're going to use just half of your money.
But it depends, right?
5%,
If I,
right.
for
Sure,
example, on
your
Orbotech,
conviction.
at some point I have 30-something% or even 40-something% of my portfolio in Orbotech alone.
Right.
So it depends on how much
Yeah, for two
appetite
reasons,
you
because
have.
it went up in value and also you have more conviction.
Yeah, and you have confidence in the business.
So you made 127% on 50% of your money. That means that you put in 100%, you would have been even that much.
But you don't want to do that.
I know. Right.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
But now it's a very fair way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of using the option. You use it as a tool to satisfy your investment needs, not as a way to over leverage. So when something does go wrong, you lose all your portfolio.
So way going forward, your crystal ball, which is clearer than mine, we think that 2018, we're not going to necessarily get the gains. As Mark Cuban said last week or the week before, everybody looks like a genius.
Yeah,
bull
well, it's doing well, exactly.
Now, we're going to have maybe a flat year. What approach would you take next year if you think that we're going to have flat to moderately high, maybe single digit, low single digit, uptrend in the down?
At some point, I'm thinking about selling calls on the current existing positions I have, and then use that money to buy some puts, and just accumulate them.
Buy puts, not
Buy
sell
puts,
them.
just accumulate them.
And
Because
protect-
essentially, if stock goes up, you make money, right? But if it doesn't, then you collect that premium. That premium can be used to buy hedge. So you're operating
So you're
essentially
looking at
long-term
2018
hedge.
as a safety mode, essentially. You're not less aggressive if you're going to sell calls.
Depends, right?
and
It all goes right back to what other companies I find. If I find a company that's undervalued or whatever, then I might consider put more money into it, right? So it doesn't overall macro events. I do weigh into my short-term decisions, but as long-term, if a company that's good, I would hold on to it. Even if during the market downturn, I know they have enough cash in their reserve and business model is good, the trend is going up, even if the overall market tanks, I assume the business will survive that kind of crisis. Right?
So you choose equities that are obviously liquid and are optionable.
And also profitable. Right now, right now on my portfolio right now, because as I learn, I'm changing my investment strategy gradually as well. AMD is the only position I have in my portfolio right now that's not profitable. Yeah.
So where it says 127% performance, how do you calculate that?
I use the total amount of money I had at the beginning of the year versus right now.
That's not performance calculation though. That's not even close. You should look up XIRR. It'll give you a better view of how that's calculated. We also have to adjust for risk as well.
Okay.
It's just taking money now over money in the past.
Yeah. It's very simple. Right now, it's very simple right now.
XIRR?
Yeah, it's in
It's a
Excel.
function, is that in the,
XIRR, that'll give you the internal rate of return because you have to adjust your stocks based
That's
on
an Excel function?
deviation. Yes. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So you're talking about
if I
the total
have
risk.
$1 today, $2 tomorrow, it's not 100% gain. You usually, like when you see a page, whether it's a mutual fund or a stock, they'll say the performance was this for this percentage of the year. They'll have something at the bottom that explains that. And it's like a caveat that says we calculated using IRR or XIRR.
Okay. I'll put a caveat there that this is calculated this way.
Yeah.
What is the letters?
XIRR?
XI.
X-ray India Romeo Romeo.
Yeah, that's a function in Excel.
Yeah, but then there's of course like I want to. The whole reason why I created this to begin with was to include the book section, also the principal section. But the book section basically, I know a lot of new investors right now. They always ask, like, where do I start and what books to look at, right? So that's the reason why.
Where's your book?
Huh? I'm working on it. I'm basically.
Those,
Yeah, Josh.
Oh, read your book.
No, Josh is a PDF.
Those two are
It's not
sort of
actual
famous
physical
ones. Phil Fisher is old. Well, now, see, now that's not an investment one, but it's one
Yeah,
probably good for everybody's living their life. You know,
Yeah.
my mother would get my dad to try to do
Successfully? Did he ever do it?
So at the end of the day, you know, all the other tabs are just kind of like stuff I threw in as I go, and then of course I will update it and figure out this XIRR thing that you mentioned, and update that as we go. So that's there. If anybody's interested in picking out some books, that's just books in my inventory. Like so.
Do you have a schedule of buy and sells? Can people look at something like that?
Recommendations, you mean?
No, buy and sells, but he's done.
Oh no, I don't have that. I don't have that. Yeah.
Right. So is that it for you, Wade?
Yep, that's it.
Do you put some of these things in your investment philosophy, like sell short and buy long?
No, I'm not putting the strategies out there. I'm gonna put in mostly how to evaluate companies and what's my stance on evaluating companies, because these strategies is tool, right? How you implement it doesn't matter. If you're long on the stock, just buy the freaking stock, right? Or buy calls, doesn't matter. So it's just however risk you want to take. So I don't want to put that because everybody's got different risk tolerance. So the investment philosophy, I haven't updated yet, but I'm planning to put in more about evaluating business and the attitude, you know, going towards buying the stock, not just buying it because, you know, you don't know anything about a company, you want to buy it, like something like that. Yeah.
So we still get you on YouTube? I'm going to YouTube to get you.
Yeah. I still have the YouTube there, and I just made a Twitter right now. It's only like posting.
So this is a different, so I don't have to go to YouTube?
Oh, that one is just, you know.
Just go straight into me, so, right? And then, okay.
Okay, Paul, you're next. You're wrapping it up there.
I had some put stowaway working some X the strike was 26 and a half.
That's a big steel, your steel?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of breaking out and going on up. I wish I owned the stock. It cut coal away from me. Yeah, it might run up to 45 again. It might.
You think?
Well, the PE is really, really low.
What is the fundamental reason of that, sir?
No, well, it's just,
So you almost no yield though.
they're getting a Trump benefit by buying American steel type stuff. They get some benefit from that. I think these pipelines are buying U.S. Steel's pipes.
You don't think that President Trump went easy on Xi to get some North Korea kind of trading? So say, okay, we'll back off tariffs on steel. You can apply pressure on North Korea. I'm just making this up.
Could happen, yeah.
There's no Chinese demand anymore though for steel. The demand for metals is going way down.
Yeah, I'm concerned about consumption side of China. If they sneeze, we might catch the flu.
So is that it for you, Paul?
Yeah, that's basically all I did this week. Well, we went away worthless and I took premium, which is good. It's not good that I lost my stock at 28. I lost my stock at 28.1. So now it's considerably above that. And it looks like it's kind of broken out. Right now it's breaking out.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, nobody got hurt taking a profit.
Right.
Okay, well now we'll open it up to everybody to wing it.
How about you, Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting with my closed-end funds, which are really boring. Just don't want to bore everybody by all, but you can bring up the Master Seat website for closed-end funds. It's at cefconnect.com. So if you want to see a little bit about how closed-end funds function, that's okay. So yeah, and then just go ahead, and I would say up there is a search box up there at the top.
Well, no, it's up here.
Go ahead. Yeah, you can say daily pricing. I guess it's okay. And then bring up the box up there. You can bring up the
Well, it's the actual
yes,
website.
but go up to the top. There's CEF Connect, and you can type in
Price?
why don't you KGF? That's the tax-free bond fund. KGF.
Oh, well, you can search.
Okay, go to search. Hit the search box with KGF.
On screen. No, it's home. That's it.
In the upper right, it says ticker or keyword right there.
Yeah.
What is
KGF.
that? K.
King Tango Frank. King Tango Frank.
Oh, sorry. KTF.
Okay, so that's a tax-free bond fund, and then just shows you. These are very, very boring. That's your master website. And
German municipals?
Go to pricing information here. So how see the tip off here, like it's become a really discount issue, and a lot of people are selling these because they're worried about the tax bill and all that, and they're trying to take tax losses. See, and that's what I like. I mean, this is a key thing, or you don't want to buy up here, you want to buy down here, and you want to sell up here when you're up here.
How much?
And that's
How much
what
further
you look
down?
for in these closed-end funds. That
Much
kind
more
of a
downwards
pattern.
is there, though?
I mean, they all have issues.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all slow-moving, really sleepy time. But cefconnect.com is where you go to look up these various closed-end funds that give you this type of information. That's what you want. You want the ones that are going low and sell the ones that are going higher. And they do have their rhythm, their patterns.
What's the load on these? The costs of
Huh?
what's the cost of transaction? Load, no load? How does it?
Oh no, they don't have any. They're just regular stocks.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just. I mean, somebody pointed out that excellent. It's like you're buying a house, but you know what the appraised value is, but people don't pay the appraised value. They'll pay either more or less depending on the market sentiment and all that. And these closed-end funds function on that. You're buying market price, you're transacting at market price, even though they have appraised value underneath.
Is the appraised value, and you can find the appraised value? Or
Right, they
their
list
value?
the appraised value as a net asset value.
Yeah, that's the
That's
net value.
so that's what you're dealing with, and it's really slow-moving, slow process. You rely on dividends, and the reason that the KTF is seeing that heavy discount on it is because it's a tax-free bond fund. So, they're going to attack the state and local tax deduction. Who wants those? I mean, people are, and then the dynamics roll into that.
Yeah, is it monthly
So
dividend?
that's why, but the underlying is still the appraised value remains, because people, insurance companies and all that, they're figuring it on a different basis. But so there it is.
Is it a qualified dividend?
No, it's tax free.
Oh, tax.
Federal tax free to not state.
Not for the state, but it's the federal income tax
But
rate.
it's a monthly dividend, huh?
Yeah, that one particular one pays monthly, but it's only like 4 or 5%, something like that. It's, no
So
big deal,
5.33.
no major gravy train or anything like that.
So it's 5.33?
I mean, that was just one that has turned up, and they happen periodically.
But you think this is a great buying opportunity?
I would no. I mean, I would say that's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I don't say it's a great buying up, because who knows? I mean, who knows with the tax bill? I mean, it could be very nasty.
Gary, if Hector's correct and they don't pass the tax bill, then
Well, then it certainly wouldn't recover. I mean, I'm sure that would be up. There's certainly these
But
tax
I
bills
just
are
meant
very,
that portion
they're
of the
anticipated to happen.
FIFO. But yeah, there's less of a chance of tax reform passing, sure, but even
mean,
less
everybody
than
knows that's gonna
$1 billion savings from FIFO. But it is a risk at this point. They may find some kind of agreement to whittle diluted version of that reform.
It's your guess is as good as mine.
but
What's
didn't
going
they make
on
it
there?
didn't they make it a little more
I don't
complicated
know.
by bringing the health care into that?
But they're going to take that out.
Oh, they are going to, because I was going to say that's already a problem.
Well, Susan Collins is not going to vote for the plan, and a couple others are.
Okay,
against it,
so they took it back out.
Well, not yet, but they will. I imagine.
Okay, well, we're wrapping it up early, and you have certainly opportunity for people to say anything or remark. Just open it up to everybody.
And this concludes this week's live stream. Thank you for listening.